Hey folks, Scott Rogan here, the home cinema architect, and just doing another share to give some insights to what makes a world-class home cinema actually work and some of the critical details that we see missing most often. We did a cinema review just actually a month ago now where some folks got a brand new cinema installed and it didn't really turn out to plan. So I'm just going to sort of share those critical elements that could have made this a completely different story and turned it around for them. So we've got to look at design, project management, and calibration. If these three things were really focused on a bit more, they would have got a very different result. So reviewing this one single job, what were the things wrong with this one? Well, we actually had design-wise, the surround speakers were all actually in the ceiling, and the Atmos overhead speakers also in the ceiling. It makes it very, very difficult to create a phantom of sound image when all the speakers are actually coming from the same place and not at different layers. So Atmos doesn't work very well when we break those rules. The other big problem is the front LCR speakers, the main speakers, were behind the screen. I love it behind the screen. Although there wasn't a lot of room. There's like 50 mil of space between the speaker and the micro perforated screen. It's like a vinyl screen with little holes in it. They need like a foot of space to be able to actually get the sound to breathe through without causing some big distortions. So that was a design error that we don't like to see. Really the right thing to do there would be a woven screen, which is like a fabric, and the sound breathes through even if the speakers were only 50 mil apart. The other thing we noticed is that the brand new components weren't Ultra HD compatible. We had a Blu-ray player and we had no Apple TV. We had no way of buying and playing Ultra Blu-ray discs, which is the very latest and greatest in technology. If you've got a brand new system, you might as well go to the latest tech. So project management wise, that was sort of design. Project management wise, they had issues with the seating riser. That needed to actually, by the time they went to put the 2 rows of seats in, didn't have enough room. So I guess there's also a design issue actually. So the carpet had to be pulled back, carpenter back out, and relayed to get the seats to fit properly. So that's actually a design or maybe a measure up error. So measuring, designing off those measurements, absolutely critical. The other one is the lighting. We had lights all the way around the room and the front to back parts of the room were all connected on one circuit. We had pretty lights around the outside. We had smaller focus lights on the inside. We had 1 and 2 circuits, but they were both shared between front and back row. What we want is lighting just over the seats and no light on the screen. If there's some lights at the front, they can be turned on or off independently of each other. Otherwise, you want a little bit of light in the room, you're killing your image. It's terrible. So there's some issues that they had as project management was occurring. If someone was really looking out for the job, they could have pivoted and made some changes along the way, not waited to the end and then have to redo it all. Installation wise, this job really copped it. So we've got first of all, small Denon amp. It was like a $1,300 amp. We're trying to run, a more sophisticated big home cinema. Not really going to cut it. So again, probably a design error, thinking that a $1,300 couple up from base model amp is going to do the trick. Now, it says it's got like 125 watts of power. Look, power ratings, particularly in home theater amplifiers, they smudge the figures. All right, so there's plenty of documentation online talking about how much power a home theater amp really has versus what it claims. I'm not going to rehash over that, but a small amplifier, it's got the bells and whistles, but it doesn't have the power we need. The power we need at least, a good solid 100 watts of power, which means really more like a $3,000 or $4,000 all-in-one amp is going to start delivering that. So this system didn't really have a chance to open up and be dynamic. And really furthermore to that, as we tested the system, the surround speakers and the Atmos speakers, all the installed speakers at the back sort of part of the room, separate to the front stage, they're all wired out of phase. Now, I did a video of this just recently. So the cabling, positive negative, was out. So we're getting a positive response from the front of the room, negative response at the back, which equals a completely collapsed soundstage. That is, the surround speakers and front speakers are working against each other, not with each other. there was no envelopment of this room. There's no spaciousness. There's no, oh, wow, this sounds like a massive concert or auditorium or jungle. Instead, it just sort of sounded flat and awkward. Now, as a calibrator, I can pick this up immediately. The thing is, the client could tell this as well. They're like, Scott, there's something wrong with the sound. Where's it at? So a casual listener, inexperienced listener, could really tell there was something wrong. And when your system's wired out of phase, you've got no chance. So more errors there. Now, acoustically in the room, they had some curtains along the back wall that looked really pretty, looked kind of nice, but ultimately the curtains aren't really giving a big broad range of audio as far as sound grab goes. We want broad range. We need bigger acoustic panels than just curtains. And the sides of the room had no treatment whatsoever. So for the expense of the fancy curtains, I think it was like $3,500 or so, you know, you're 2/3 or 3/4 of the way there of actually getting a decent acoustic fit out on the sides, back, and ceiling as well. So not the greatest span to getting a great acoustic finish. Although they look pretty, more investment was needed. There's one subwoofer in the system, one 10-inch at 350 watts. We really needed a second one, even better, a couple of 12-inch subs to get that one powered up properly. Control-wise, the automation system was installed, but there was no all-in-one remote control. There's no dedicated cinema remote. What had happened is that the application was downloaded to the kid's iPad, and the mum, whose room this really is for, was left wondering how did she turn on her new home cinema when the kids obviously have their iPad in their room doing their own thing. It's really important to have a dedicated controller just for the cinema room so people don't wander off with an iPad or something like that and you can't use the damn thing. Hey, Justin, you'll get good stuff out of this for sure. So we've got control issues in there with the main key user of the project, which is the mum, not knowing how to turn on the system. Performance-wise, checking how the system actually performed outside of those kind of technical errors that I discovered through the client and through our initial review was the lack of calibration. So the video settings were all on neutral. There was no balance to the black level. There was no calibration to getting perfect color. And there's no chance of getting Ultra HD because there's no source component. So the video is just kind of on cruise control mode. And we always know calibration, we can get 30-40% more wow factor out of the system, particularly when the colors look a little bit wrong. You know, like the green looks a bit fluoro and faces look a bit pasty. It's really important to get the colors right, get it looking really natural, and then you're going to sink into the movie, and that's what it's all about. So the last component out of this, of course, audio calibration. That was apparently done with the Denon's AutoCal system in about 20 minutes, and that system obviously didn't pick up the phase errors. In fact, the AutoCal systems are very good at, because they're always measuring from the seat and not near the speaker, it can measure a reflection and get the timing wrong. So we can end up with actual errors in that equipment. Plus, it's not really that sophisticated for actually calibrating anyway. So they did an AutoCal, didn't pick up the errors, packed it up and left the room, which the final part of tuning a home cinema is actually sitting in it, playing some content, something that you really know and love, and turning it up to 11 and seeing what it does. And that's exactly how we tune and calibrate every cinema, is actually turning it up to 11, you know, full reference level, that is. Preferably over 105 decibels if the system can do it, and actually experiencing the cinema. Is it magical? And look, if these errors in the system, the magic's going to be lost. And unfortunately, guys, I know this is a little bit long video, but this is a real case scenario. There was a whole bucket load of errors in this one cinema system, and hence we're working with the client to actually get some mediation from the original crew to fix it. So it doesn't come at too much cost, and then we'll go out there and we'll tune it up and we'll actually give the system the magic that it deserves. So ultimately, if some more focused design was set out from the start, and understanding, if the client understood what it meant to have properly powered speakers and acoustics, she was all in. She's like, man, I'm already throwing 40, 50 grand at this thing. You know, what's another 10 or so to do it properly and actually enjoy it? Project management, make sure at every step of the way, everything's running correctly. You know, from the design plan, we should have a proper build plan and someone overseeing that and overseeing the trades. this was a bit of a headache for these folks. Finally, calibration is going to actually make sure everything's orchestrated and working beautifully. And I actually call the last part orchestration, which is actually audio and video calibration and also the automation of the system. Everything's performing at its best and the family actually know how to use it. So folks, there's a little bit of insights to a project that we've recently checked out. Some folks that had a system a little bit underwhelmed by it. And look, there's a bunch of errors, which is good. There's a bunch of errors. There's a bunch of things that can be fixed and get the system at peak performance. At the moment, I think they're running. So I hope that's helped. And we'll check in next time. Scott Rogan, the Home Cinema Architect, and see more on the Rogue Home Cinema YouTube and Facebook as well. See you guys. Bye.